止まりなさい。あなたたちは何者です。国王が不在の城に侵入するとは、どうやら下賤な盗人のようですね。我が国の城を荒らす賊は成敗いたします。任務の目標が変更されたみたいね。敵の主要戦力を撃破するのよ。嗅ぎ取られてしまいます。見ないでください。マジか。はい、嫌だよ。そりゃそれ以上はダメだよ。
So let's talk about Bullet Girls Phantasia, because this game is incredible. It is like what would happen if you took Koei Tecmo's Dynasty Warriors series and the old Gauntlet games, smushed them together, and then hurled them into an alternative universe where everything is hentai. And I do mean absolutely everything. This game comes to us from D3 Publisher, the same outfit that brought us Onechanbara and Schoolgirls Zombie Hunter. Somehow, and I can't figure out how, the publisher always manages to find ever more extreme ways to sex up their games, and they do so in the trashiest way possible. As I record this video, I'm about halfway through the game, which I assume based on how long these games generally last, but I'm just waiting for the tentacles to show up. It's the one thing missing at the moment, but you just know that Cthulhu is not going to be able to resist this party or its panties. It is going to happen. The game is so extreme that I've had genuine eye-opening moments playing it, and I have played basically everything that's even remotely pervy or trashy. It's so utterly trashy and extreme, though, that I can't help but laugh along with it. It is, like I said, it is amazing. So what is Bullet Girls Phantasia? Well, it's genuinely like a cheap Dynasty Warriors clone, and that's not necessarily a criticism. It is what it is. I'm a huge fan of Dynasty Warriors, so obviously I'm partial to this kind of gameplay. You select a character from a fairly large roster, and each girl has her own preferred weapon and therefore her own fighting style, and then go running through levels where you'll need to wade through hordes of enemies, slicing them down, and picking up loot along the way. The Gauntlet reference that I made earlier comes from the treasure piles that pop up through the levels. Those spawn the enemies, and if you destroy the treasure pile, the enemies will stop showing up. That is a mechanic drawn straight out of Gauntlet of old. So far it sounds like a fairly standard action game, right? And for people who are fans of Earth Defense Force or even Schoolgirls Zombie Hunter, the kind of B-grade action that this game offers will be familiar and quite enjoyable. It's not flawless. Enemy AI is absolutely woeful. Enemies will stand around doing absolutely nothing. They'll be standing right next to you, not even recognizing your presence. They'll go running off in random directions for some reason and form all these kinds of weird formations. But it's good fun to shoot them down with the guns, and because of that, the action itself is enjoyable. It's not necessarily difficult. It's not necessarily genre-breaking, but it is enjoyable enough. And while the environments are functional to an embarrassing degree, and this is not a good-looking game by any means, the characters look nice enough, and that's kind of the overriding point, as we'll get to in a minute. The characters look good, so once again, it's an enjoyable enough setup for a game. But then your character will get hit by an enemy attack, and that's when Bullet Girls Phantasia shows its true colours. There's no blood in the game. Despite the presence of the guns and stuff, when stuff dies, it falls over and disappears. Rather than blood, when one of the main characters gets hit by an attack, their clothing starts to tear, and you get treated to a cutscene that makes sure you get an eyeful of the most ridiculous range of lingerie that you could possibly imagine. This in itself is not actually a new mechanic, and some other publishers have done it in the past with their games, such as Compilheart with Dark Rose Valkyrie and Amiga Quintet, or D3 Publisher with its own Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter. Those games, though, would stop the clothes tearing mechanic once the girls were down to their delicates, so they'd be in their underwear and that would be it. In Bullet Girls, they can lose their underwear as well, at which point they spend the rest of the level running around with wisps of cloud, strategically placed to ensure that Sony doesn't ban the game from the platform. And now I know you're sitting there thinking, well, that's as far as the game could possibly go. The girls are in the nutty, there's nowhere to go from there. You would be wrong. It doesn't stop there. I can't actually show you footage of this because the game blocks the PlayStation 4 from recording it for some reason. But each time you meet a new character in the game, you get them to join your party by punishing them into submission. And you do that by playing a minigame in which the new girl is held prone in a kink torture-like scenario, and you need to shove round cylinder-like objects such as icy poles into their mouth, squirt them with water guns, and use poking and prodding commands, including one, which I kid you not, is called grope. This game is not subtle about itself, not on any level. That is what you get with it. Now that might make you feel uncomfortable, and fair enough really. This game really is genuinely extreme. Those scenes, I wish I could show you them without getting my YouTube channel banned, but they are extreme, and the publisher knows it. It's not been released in English in the West, and it's only been released in the Asian markets because D3 knows that even a publisher like Axis, which did take on the Schoolgirl Zombie Hunter game, would take one look at this game and go, oh, hell no. Secondly, by forcing players to import it, the chances of it blowing up into a major wave of negative criticism is limited by the fact that most of the people that would be involved in such a wave of criticism aren't likely to bother importing something like this, so they're not going to play it, which means the criticism doesn't happen, which is, for a company that probably doesn't want that level of criticism, a good thing. But here's the thing. It's absolutely the truth that Bullet Girls Phantasia is anything but a standout example of good design. And it doesn't even take a look at the good taste cliff before taking a running leap of it at such speed and such precision that the Usain Bolt of Lemmings would be impressed by the sheer gumption and effort to get over the cliff that quickly. But that's why it's also so spectacularly incredible. There is no way on the face of this planet, or any other planet, once Elon Musk stops building his stupid submarines and goes back to spacecraft, that you can take Bullet Girls Phantasia seriously. It is self-evidently satirical in tone. The developers know that they've created something ridiculous, and they run like heck with that. And once you start looking at it in that way, something amazing kind of happens. It becomes quite evident that this is one spectacular critique of video games themselves. It's perhaps unintentionally so, but the critique is there. Think about it this way. If you're going to critique Bullet Girls Phantasia, if you're going to criticize it, it's not the way that it apes the shooter mechanics of 90% of blockbuster shooter games that you're going to critique it for. You're not going to critique the violence, even though the violence is similar to so many other games out there. You're not even going to notice the violence. What you're going to notice is the sexualization. And yet, the sexualization is so over the top that it's not sexy. There is no way you could possibly play this game and be titillated by it. I would be absolutely shocked if somebody did. The fact that we see it is extreme though, and the fact that so many would be repulsed by that even though it's not really titillating, gives the game an oddly libertine quality. And I don't mean libertarian, I mean libertine, as in Marquis de Sade, not Ayn Rand. So again, perhaps by accident, there's more than a few moments in Bullet Girls that have a distinctly Marquis de Sade tone to them. In one scene, one of the characters says, "I don't think I've ever felt this way before. It's like I'm swimming in a sensation of corrupt pain and pleasure." And as we all know, Sade was a big fan of that link between pleasure and pain and the decadence of it all. Now Sade is of course himself not above critique, and there is a lot to critique out there about both him and Bullet Girls. So I'm not saying that Bullet Girls is a game that everybody's going to want to play, or that everybody should play, or that everybody should enjoy. But these kinds of extreme experiences that do push right up against the boundaries of what we accept are important. Sometimes we do need to see and experience something shocking in order to generate discussion, whether that discussion is within ourselves or with other people that we talk to. So again, I'm not saying that Bullet Girls Phantasia is a great work of art by any means, and it doesn't deserve awards, and it is explicitly and deliberately trashy B-grade nonsense. But nevertheless, it is so wildly over the top and ridiculous that, taken in the satirical, self-aware spirit that it was intended to be, I find it both amusing and oddly charming. And yeah, it is oddly charming to me. I've enjoyed my time with this game, and I certainly don't regret playing it. So yeah, if you get a chance, check it out. Like I said, it's not available in English in the West. Your best bet, if you want to play it in English, is to get a Hong Kong PlayStation Network card and buy it off the Hong Kong store. But it is in English, and it is fully playable in English. And thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it was interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you've played the game, let me know what you think about the game in the comments. And we will see you at the next video.